I stated before, I'm Larry Johnson, Chairman of the Chamber. We'll have 4 topics, so how this is going to work. We'll introduce each topic. I'll introduce each of the speakers before they speak. Jeff, sitting right in front of the speakers, has a series of cards which alert them to their time remaining. He also has a red flag. And if they really get out of hand, not that we're going to be sticklers for time. So if I could ask, the first topic is education funding. If I could ask State Senator Jennifer Bertino-Tarrant and State Representative Mark McDermed to join me at the front in the chairs. We'll begin with State Representative Margot McDermed, who was first sworn in on January 8, 2014, in the last days of the 98th General Assembly. In 2012, she was elected to represent the residents of Will County Board District 12 and brings her experience as a Will County board member, a township trustee, a township clerk, to her position representing District 37 in the Illinois House of Representatives. Representative McDermott's district includes all or part of Duneland, Smoky, Tinley Park, Frankfurt, Homer Glen, Joliet, Lockport, and Orland Park. Representative McDermott.
Good afternoon, everyone. As the introduction said, I'm Margot McDermott. I represent the 37th District, sort of the Lincoln Way rep, if you will. And I am here to talk to you about education funding reform. I gave you a handout. There's a book written about education funding reform in the state of Illinois, and with my 5-minute limit, I just really didn't think I could handle the entire topic. So there are some handouts. It's not enough for everyone, but if there are some people that are particularly interested, there are some links and there's some information about education funding reform on your table. So I'm not going to talk so much about what, but maybe try to spend a little bit more time on how. The framework is talking about evidence-based funding. And there are 27 things that we know lead to better outcomes in education that the group is adopting on suggesting that we adopt on a going forward basis. I would urge all of you as parents, as property taxpayers, I bet you I have some school board members here in this room, I know I do, to follow the links, look at the 27 items, see what kind of research is saying these are going to make differences for our children in their outcomes. With this kind of evidence-based funding. So the issue is, how do we roll that out? How do we make, and the only way the evidence-based funding model looks at what would it take to deliver this funding to every student in the state of Illinois? What is that student's district able to provide? What's the difference in that district, and how do we fill that gap? That's huge. The committee that's been working for a year, it was a governor's commission, Jennifer was a member of it, she can talk to you more about that, went for a year, and without really coming to any absolute recommendation of how we can go forward. There are a number of paths that we can take to fill that gap between adequacy for any given district and the resources that are available in that district. I think everyone on the commission believes that more state funding is a good idea. But how do you allocate that state funding, and where is that state funding going to come from? And that's what takes us back to the whole full circle of the grand bargain, which the Senate is tackling right now in Illinois. And are we going to change how we spend the existing funds? Are we going to add new funds? If so, who's going to where are those new funds going to come from income taxes or perhaps from some other kind of service taxes or other fees, so that education funding reform very much deals with all of the big issues that are challenging our state right now. We have one of the largest gaps between richest and poorest districts in the U.S. We have to tackle this. We also have to, one of the challenges that we have is, what do you do about districts that are already have adequate funding? Do we want to penalize districts that have been lucky enough or resourceful enough to have the districts? Do we want to penalize the property tax holders in those districts? How can we move forward unless we take all the districts? That's the challenge. That's where we are right now. There's a lot of goodwill in Springfield to move forward with education funding reform. The Senate is showing leadership. Mark and I and David and Natalie are all committed to showing that same kind of leadership in the House and make sure that we also step out and show some leadership in reforming education funding and reforming revenue sources. Let's see if there's anything else I want to say. It's a big, big topic. I would really urge you very much to look at some of the handouts, look at the evidence. The other, I'm going to say one more thing and I'm going to sit down. One of the things that the evidence-based model does for us is that local school boards, local parents, local property taxpayers can look at, with more transparency, how their school board, how their school is doing vis-a-vis these particular items. So there should be more transparency. You should be able to see, are they delivering on these particular measures in that school? So hopefully that'll be able to tell people, are their taxpayer dollars being spent well? Is their district delivering? Are their students are they growing and having good outcomes? So not only is it going to be, we hope, better outcomes for students, but better ways of, last sentence, better ways of taxpayers being able to tell that that's happening. There's a lot of promising things. Let's get the funding done. We're all committed to it. Thank you.
She was first elected to the 49th Senate District in November of 2012. The district includes all or part of Bolingbrook, Crestville, Joliet, Montgomery, Naperville, Oswego, Plainfield, Romeoville, and Shorewood. She served in various leadership positions as a member of the General Assembly, including co-chair of Young Adults Heroin Use Task Force and vice chair of the Labor Committee. She was recently appointed as chairwoman of the Education Committee for the 100th General Assembly in 2017 and as commissioner to the Illinois School Funding Reform. Senator?
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having us here today. I'm going to do the best I can. We're going to be really quick because it's a short period of time, because education funding is something that's very near and dear to me. And I could sit here for the whole entire 30 minutes, but we won't do that to you. As it was mentioned, I am very fortunate to be chairing the Education Committee this year. I know there is a standing joke, though, in Springfield that I can't throw everything in subcommittee, although I'm trying very hard for my friends in education, because everybody has the next best idea for education. I always say, hey, if you need to teach something to a group of kids, throw it in school. That's the easiest way. You have thousands of kids in one place. But as we know, and as our superintendents here, our school boards here, we can't do everything. We have to make sure we focus on why kids are in school, and that is to get an education to prepare them for either college or career. Quickly on the education funding, and Margot did address many of it. She did, we do have a large gap between our wealthiest district and our poverty area districts, about 20%. And that has led to us having a very unequitable system. At the same time, we're trying to work on the adequacy. What is the level of funding that we need to successfully educate our students? And right now they have that level of about $6,100. People in school know it's pretty much an arbitrary number. And I always kind of make my own formulas in my head. For people in private schools and private Catholic schools, it costs about $12,000 to go to those schools. So you can see right there, we're probably about halfway to where we should be. Right here in Will County, just to show the disparity, we have a monthly expenditure anywhere from about $9,000 to $21,000 as well. So again, just showing depending on where you live, and you may be surprised who has the $21,000, because it is property taxes, it is interesting. So, depending on where you are, is how much money your school brings in. So we have some areas, and we're fortunate here in Will County, that some people are giving money back to the taxpayers because they have money that they're unable to spend. The goal of the commission was to come up with a formula to address both equity and adequacy. So the focus needs to be on low-income students, ELL students, and areas of poverty, as well as special education. Those are the highest drivers in education. What becomes the issue is, again, the adequacy level. If we keep things adequate, if we hold schools hold harmless, meaning we don't change anything, we're never really going to fix the equity issue. Because people will stay at a certain level, and school districts will never be, based on where they are, down south, will never be able to go up to an amount that schools maybe up north can absorb. So it is always going to be an issue. We also have to look at, for us here in the suburbs, the tax, we really can't be taxed anymore. Our property taxes are high. And to add any more burden on the taxpayer is just unreasonable. So we have to come up with where we're going to get that money so it doesn't come out of the taxpayer's pocket. Two very, very difficult problems. Changes considered in the funding formula. And again, we met over, it was a pretty short time frame. I would say not even maybe a year, 6 months was pretty much the time frame. Probably 72 hours of meetings, 20 plus meetings, and that's a big group and a small group. And from Chicago down south, bipartisan, bicameral, and as you can imagine, a lot more issues came up than solutions. But we do have a formula. We do have an idea of what we need to do. Some changes that were considered: using student enrollment instead of daily average attendance. Obviously, increased funding for low income, direct funds to districts based on poverty concentration. Those were areas we could agree on. Transportation would be left alone. Early childhood would be left alone. Again, areas we could agree on. Areas that we had difficulty deciding or coming to a consensus. Mandates. Some of these are directly related to dollars, some of them are not. Mandate related, pensions, precaution, private schools, tax credit, and everyone's favorite topic, Chicago public schools. Really quick so everyone understands why Chicago public schools is in this, when we talk about pension parity, it's simply because when all the downstate schools, meaning everything but Chicago, are part of the state pension system, Chicago takes care of their own pensions. So when your income tax goes to, when you pay your income taxes, those dollars are spread to every single school except Chicago public schools. So part of the argument Chicago public schools and taxpayers in Chicago say is, hey, it's unfair. We're paying twice. We're paying for the downstate taxes as well as so pension parity is also a big discussion. In lieu of that, though, Chicago public schools have always gotten a block grant. That's dollars for early childhood. So in lieu of that, we're doing kind of a swipe. We'll help with pension parity. We'll take away the block grant. Again, we have voted on some of these issues several times. I've been very supportive of education funding. We know for people in schools, we know it's definitely needed. Evidence-based model, very, very good. I agree, but that's another $3.5 billion into our system. We don't have it. So thank you for that.
Thanks to Senator Tarrant and to Representative McDermott. We appreciate that.